Well, thank you for joining this live broadcast. I'm also live on YouTube, so in case you want better sound quality and nice visuals, head over to the YouTube channel. So I'm going to end the live stream on Instagram. It's over at youtube.com/blackstarBlues, and I'd love to see you there if you are interested in catching the rest of the stream. Cool. The sound quality is better, I think, there, so might as well. Chalo. See you, everybody, and catch you on youtube.com/blackstarBlues. Cool. So, welcome to the rest of the broadcast. It's a Sunday night here in New Zealand. We had a nice sunny day today, so I took the girls to the beach. They had a bit of dip their toes in the water. It's still quite cold. It's early 20s. So one sec, let me just shut this guy off into flight mode, otherwise it makes noise. I was actually doing a simultaneous Instagram and YouTube, so I'm glad it. So how's it going on YouTube land? I've been practicing a bunch of Zero songs because I'm doing the Independence Rock gig in November with the boys. So I haven't played those songs in some years. So it took a bit of practice to kind of get back into the groove. But it'll be cool to do that. And then hopefully another Black Star Blues tour in Feb or March 2023, if all goes well. So yeah, I've got to learn my own shit again. Yeah, the sound quality is better here. You can actually hear all this shit in stereo. Godwings wants to hear A Weekend with You. The funny thing is that song, I wrote it as a parody of like, you know, like a smooth jazz kind of a thing. And a lot of people really like that song, which is cool. But every time I play it, I crack up a bit. The only time we actually played that song was when we did the Nights in Shining Karma 10th anniversary gig. And I had to do the whole album. So I kind of learned it for that, but I don't really have a backing track for that. I'll play you some other stuff though. Coming to Delhi or Gurgaon, not on this trip. The November thing is only with Zero in Mumbai. But hopefully if we do a Black Star Blues tour Feb or March next year, then definitely I'll be looking at Delhi as well. You covered Ode to a Sunny Day on ukulele and sounds so peaceful. It's cool. My daughter has a ukulele, though it's a 6-string one, so I can actually play it, you know. I was styling in this really nice modulated delay sound. Let's try it out. Piece is, I think, learning how to breathe, because if you're nervous, it never flows properly. You just have to learn how to like just breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Then it kind of just, you know, calms your nerves a bit. You know, the part in the song I actually really like is this bit where it goes. Because that's the part that actually ties the whole thing together. the very last time it goes to the A. That sets up the whole thing to go back. It's a chorus. It's called the Arion Stereo Chorus, SCH1. It's this old 80s chorus made in Japan. So it kind of does this Leslie speaker kind of a thing. And then on top of that, I have this modulated delay, which without the only the chorus and the modulated delays. So it would sound like. But then with that on, it goes. So there's two things modulating. One is the chorus like a slightly faster rate, and the second is the delay at a slower rate. So you get this nice lush spread across the stereo field. Sometimes it's cool, but you can kind of get carried away with that. Dial in a bit more subtly. Then you can kind of hear the pick on the guitar. What happens is if you put too much delay, you don't really hear the pick attack. I mean, sometimes you want to obscure it, and sometimes you don't. But here's another thing as well. So when you are playing with, say, a bright distortion sound, right? You kind of want to go for a slightly darker echo. So let's say I can darken it from here. So check some. Now the echoes are dark. If you do that, then you can kind of use more of the echo without it, getting in the way. But then if you have it on the brighter side, I mean, this is a subtle adjustment, but I'll show you. I'll make it really bright. So now it kind of, you kind of hear that more, so if you're doing the, then the brighter echoes, if you're kind of using it in a rhythmic thing, like a dotted eighth or something like that. Otherwise, you kind of really want to kind of have it out of the way. My tempo should be 120 on default. Another one with the echo was like this. So this, again, you would want that modulated thing. So you have the slight chorusing there. If you guys want, I can do a run through of that. It's pretty cool. I can load it up and 2, 3. is keeping a really right hand, you know. Because if you play too hard with the right hand, it never really sounds the right way. I'll show you an example. See, I'm picking too hard. It kind of pushes the strings like, too much. So it's kind of better to just have like a really light right hand touch, just to kind of, to let the notes bloom better. I mean, you can always use more volume. It's better to kind of keep it louder from the amp side of things, and then just roll your guitar volume down a little bit to control it. Because my volume on full again, see, it starts sounding a bit unpleasant. So the moment I just back that volume off, it just cleans it up. And it also takes out a bit of that annoying harshness in the treble frequencies. And there's plenty of treble, there's plenty of clarity. Especially like on, that bridge and middle thing. Does major 7 work harmoniously better on delay? I'm not sure about that. I guess so. Major 7's chords do sound pretty cool with the delay. But so do minor 7s, and so do major 9s, so do 11s. A cool chord progression is like a major 7 and then minor 9th. Do you set the gain high then instead of volume? The amp can be, either louder or gainier, and then you just drop your guitar volume a little bit. I always dial everything with my guitar volume rolled back. I keep telling people, because then you always have room to, go up. If your thing is dialed in to sound good with the volume on, say, 7 or 8, like you're playing a rhythm part, right? But then, for example, if you just want to play a lead line, I just whip that volume up and then I can bring it back down. So it's like having a boost pedal built into the guitar. It's pretty cool. Best way to learn music theory for guitar? Slowly. That's the best answer. But I'd say start with the major scale and learn all your chords. Like if you take a C major scale, you've got C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, and C major again. So you've got 3 major chords: C, G, F. Then there's D, E minor, A minor. 3 majors, 3 minors. Start writing a song with that. I think that's the best way to learn music theory. You put it into practice. That's what I would do. Because there's no point learning music theory if you're not going to put it into practice. It's like, learning to read and write if you're not going to say something with it. So that's what I would say. And that'll take you, you could take 6 months and just do the major scale in 6 months and, maybe have like 5 or 10 songs. And like say you've got, coming back to your C major, you've got your C major, G major, F major. Then you find out what happens if you make the G a minor. Just do this. the G becomes a minor. On an overdrive pedal, should you set the tone knob back for a mid scoop? It depends how the tone knob is voiced. Some of them are meant to be like flat to the center, and some are actually not doing anything when they're on full and they slowly roll off. It just depends. There's no hard and fast rule. I would say sweep it and set it to where it sounds good. Because if you are running into a clean amp, then the EQ on the pedal makes more of a difference. If you are running into an overdriven amp, then it doesn't really matter. Like, so I'll show you, for example. Let's use this Maxon, right? So this is a particular pedal where the tone knob needs to be almost all the way off. So that same pedal, this is what it sounds like into the driven channel, and this is what it sounds like into the clean channel, because that's your clean bass tone, and then you put the Maxon in. Right, whereas on the drive channel, this is just the amp, and then you put the pedal in. So it makes more of a difference where that tone knob is when the amp is clean. So let's say this is your amp being clean. If I can only reach that tone knob with my toe. See how bright it can get? Now I'm going to put it on the drive channel. And it doesn't really make that much of a difference. I mean, you're kind of hearing more of the harmonics on the highs come up. So yeah. Whereas like this Tube Screamer, that's like a more mid-forward thing. And it tightens up the low end as well. So then the EQ of like how much of lows, and so rather than moving the tone control, then I would actually go between two pedals. If I wanted the mids to be pushed, I put the Tube Screamer on. That sort of thing. Deepak's asking for cool picking patterns. I'd say actually get your right hand wrist working with like say playing some rhythm stuff. Another cool thing is also like you set up a rhythm and then you intersperse it with like a lick or two, so you kind of go. Warm-ups I do. I don't really have a fixed routine. If I'm just playing something, I'd play along with a click usually, and if there's like something that needs work on, then I'll just repeat that again and again and again with a click. But it's usually I don't really have a fixed routine. I do very little things by formula or by routine or anything like that. I used to, and just kind of it's like walking through life like that. So I like to mix it up these days at least. Karan's asking, when you compose, are you driven more by manifesting certain emotions or chasing certain musical ideas in a mix? Usually I'll probably hear something in my head and I'll be chasing that, you know. I mean, at this point, I kind of know a few ways of getting that out. So it's just a matter of doing it enough to where you can, hear stuff in your head and then just pull it out. Sometimes you have to, it's almost like I have to hum it out. I'll record that and then I'll kind of find where the notes are. Or most of the time, I can. That's what I used to do though. Like if I was hearing a certain melody in my head, I would like make a rhythm backing track, and sing on top of it. Da, da, da. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's in tune or not, but at least the main thing was getting the rhythm also of the phrasing when you hear stuff in your head, the rhythm and the notes. Sometimes the notes are easier to find, but the rhythm can be tricky, especially if you like playing 1, 2, 3, 4, da 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 da, or something like that. It can be a bit tricky to get your hand on it, so you just have to do it a few times. Um, does rolling down the guitar, does rolling the guitar volume up also distort the sound a bit? It depends on the headroom. If I have a very clean sounding thing, then it'll just get louder. But if I have a certain threshold of distortion in the sound, like say on this clean sound, actually none of my sounds are really clean, but let's say this is the clean channel of the amp, right? So in this case, if I roll the volume down and then roll it back up, it'll still be clean because I haven't hit that threshold yet. But now let me say I put on this Roger Mayer Voodoo 1. Now it's clean with the volume on 7, but then I start hitting the threshold of distortion on the pedal, especially when I pick hard. Though I very rarely would use that sound. Now let's say, for example, I am on this sound, which is the Voodoo 1, into the dirty channel of the amp. Now the threshold of distortion is around 7 on the guitar volume. So all the way from 0 to 7, it'll get louder. Once you hit that threshold, it gets more distorted. And maybe slightly perceptibly louder. Though the level meter will show the same level, it'll get perceptibly louder because you're adding more harmonic content. Because when you push it into distortion, all the higher order harmonics come out in the sound, which are normally, like say, when you play this with a clean sound. Now listen to the same thing with a distorted sound. You hear more of that harmonic content there. It's still there in this, but you don't hear it as loud. Now it starts popping out, you could do that with a clean tone, but you won't hear it as much as. That's because all those harmonics are coming out. So then, it's basically once it reaches the threshold of distortion, it'll just get more and more saturated. Okay, so I hope that clears it up. Any memory where I had to manage a logistical error playing live? Oh shit, plenty of them. Especially some of these Bollywood gigs, all sorts of shit was going down, and you kind of had to just, do your job. Sometimes the lighting engineer would not realize that you had to look at your chart, and then suddenly one light would come out of nowhere and just blind you. If you're looking at your chart, you can't see jack shit. And you have to tell them then, don't put that light on at that part of the set because I need to look at the chart and you're blinding me. Just things like that. So yeah, you just have to learn how to, basically do your job without all that shit affecting you. Have I missed anyone's questions? Shaken is saying he was watching the podcast with Aranjoy. Oh, okay. I did another interview with Dhruv Ganekar. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's a pretty cool conversation because Dhruv is an amazing songwriter and guitar player, and he does a lot of scoring work as well. So he's pretty, versatile. and he's always been like a great guitar player, because I find there are some you know musicians that once they start becoming music directors and stuff like that, they don't really tend to play that much guitar anymore because they're busy doing other stuff. But Dhruv's always, been like, his technique and everything's just been top notch. So it's a really cool conversation in case you haven't checked it out. What's a good way to practice and think about staying in the pocket with the drum part you're hearing for the first time? With every drum part, there's basically, like, strong accent and a weak one. So like, if your drum group is boof that that, your kick is on your 1 and your 3, and your snare is on the 2 and the 4. So the 2 and the 4 are the stronger accents. It's weak, long, weak, strong, boop, bap, boop, bap, that sort of thing. Now within those, you'll find that there'll be like a eighth note or a 16th note hi-hat pattern, like that stuff. So you need to always have that subdivision tucked into, your um it's hard, like, where does your rhythm sense come from? It's somewhere inside you, wherever that comes from. It needs to have those subdivisions clearly defined. Even if you're not really playing them, you need to be feeling them. So if you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, then you'd probably want to count like 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E, if that kind of a groove, is required. Or if it has a triplet groove, like when you're playing a blues, something like that, has got a triplet groove underlying in it. You're going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. You're just not count. You're not playing the 2. You're playing the 1, the first and the third triplet. So instead of going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, you're playing 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, and you're still counting as 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, that sort of thing. So you need to be aware of all that, the bars as well as the subdivisions. Once you kind of internalize that, then you're better locked in with the groove. At least that's my perspective on it. To be honest though, when you actually lock in, you don't really have to think about it. It just flows out of you. So to get to that point, you have to either play with, like, drum loops or stuff, or play with a really good drummer. Then that kind of then you can find plenty of footage though of great drummers on Instagram. So maybe just try, jamming along with some of that and see if it helps, or make a loop of it, something like that. Would I recommend any mods on a Mexican series by Fender? Sure. I mean, you could do the pickups, like say so ML, which are the Michael Landau pickups. Those are a great choice for any Mexican Fender. A lot of the difference comes in a well cut nut. So you may want to look at getting a luthier to put a bone nut and cutting that really well, and also getting the frets dressed, because what happens is sometimes these guitars come from the factory. The fret job may not be the best thing. So if you go to like a good luthier who knows how to set up, frets and level them and get those edges, it'll start playing a lot better. The pickups, like I said, you could do the electronics, you could change the pots, the diminishing returns. It comes to a point where you have to look at how much money you're putting into the guitar. Whether you want to keep that guitar or you want to sell it at some point, because if you're going to sell it, you're not going to get your money's worth in terms of all the upgrades you've done. You'll probably end up getting what a normal stock, and sometimes less, because people want to buy stock instruments, at least from what I've seen. So in that case, keep all the stock parts aside if you plan on selling the guitar, and then when you do sell the guitar on, you can take out all your upgraded stuff and put the original pickups back and put the original tuners, whatever you've done, and then at least you've got those parts for your next project. Then maybe you want to buy an American Strat and put that shit in, but you know you could also look at getting exactly what you want. Like, say you buy a road-worn body or something, and then you buy a neck from another Strat, and you can kind of just put the whole guitar together. Again, your resale value may not be the best on that, so you just keep in mind. If you ever plan on selling it, then just be a little careful. That's all I'll say. I'm not going to say it's a bad idea, but just be aware of that. Chicken is really looking forward to iRock. Yeah, it's gonna be good fun. Uh, would be really epic if there is a huge jam. I don't think that's gonna happen because they run very tight timelines in terms of like deadlines and stuff like that. So it's not really an indoor thing. Like sometimes at Mahindra Blues they can go on till late because those studios are it's all indoor and the sound doesn't really leak. But if it's gonna be an outdoor thing, I think they'll have the 10 p.m. Bombay cops on their case. You started watching the Six Strings and other stories. It's fun and insightful show to know the underground. It's cool, man. I just love most of them are my friends or people that I really looked up to when I was starting to play guitar. So it's good to have these conversations with them and also document their stories because you know everyone on this planet has a finite lifespan. So it'll be nice if some shit can survive. Our stories can survive us after we're gone. Did I get any of my guitars done by Bobby? I don't know who that is. Generally in Bombay, there was a guy called Audi who used to do my stuff. I mean, most of my setup and stuff like that I do myself. But if it was like a fret job or anything that needed woodwork, I would send it to Audi. And in Auckland, there's a guy called Ramsey Phillips, who does all the refrets and stuff. Really cool guy. So yeah. Cool. I think I'm pretty much wrapped with questions. Maybe I'll play a little bit before I have to head out. Let me see. What do I play? I was listening to this one in the car today, so maybe I will play it. It's a song called Happy E-Friends. Sure, thank you everyone, and I will save this as well so you can go back and watch the replay if you want. Cool, thanks guys, and I think I should be able to do this every Sunday around the same time, so it's late evening my time and late afternoon India time. So, sure, see you then. Bye bye.